First thing is, trash pickup town garage. I thought I printed that out. 30 bucks a week, trash pickup. Do you remember?
Sorry, we're just running over that.
The trash pickup, what they call it?
About $35 a week.
35.
What do they do with it now?
They take it over themselves.
Over the, yeah, on company time?
Yeah.
Sounds like it equals so far, right? Maybe, I don't know.
I want to take trash over a couple hours.
Figuring out.
Hour.
Depending on what you gotta do, you know, we're going around collecting cemeteries as well. It's probably a couple hours.
Is this a request you guys put in?
Well, I think we was leaning towards the dumpster for everyone, I don't know. I don't wanna speak for Greg.
Well, what happened was, he called back and left a message and basically said that he would prefer a dumpster, out there and a key to the gate. And,
So you want to leave the dumpster at $35 a week?
that's what he said. Now, I don't know if there's an additional fee for setting the dumpster there or what, but
Does Mellon handle this area?
no, Pine State, because
Okay.
Pine State picks up, at San Juan.
Okay.
Mellon would only do the dumpster, and those quotes had gotten back away along.
I know originally we talked about, so Randy had a place where he didn't have to personally go to the dumps and us, and we didn't know what the status was of San Juan at the time.
Yeah, no, this was, I think what he's talking is a small dumpster.
Yeah, it's probably like a 3S dumpster or 4S dumpster, like that.
Would you still be picking up like the cemeteries or whenever they needed to, or taking it down there and putting it in the dumpster? Or?
Yeah, I mean, theoretically. Right now, we go and bag it and take it to the dump.
Yeah.
Like how much trash you guys generate? Like,
Depending on the week. It's raining, we're in the shop doing Thursdays. So it could be 10 bags, or it could be living gone in a week, so I'm gonna go tomorrow.
Well, this,
maybe what was it, half a dozen a week maybe? Or?
Yeah.
well,
The
I,
biggest thing was the cotton stuff.
right, but I think with the initial quote, it was like 2 to 3 bags a week was what I had told him from what you guys had said.
Yeah, like I said, it all depends on the week. I mean, most of our equipment now takes up gas. When it takes 5 gallons, we're talking anywhere from 4 to 6 cardboard jugs, plastic jugs that are this big. 6 of them fill up a contractor bag. Depends on the week.
I don't know. Imagine if probably saving some time.
Yeah, I would think they would try it and see.
Yeah.
You know, just use.
They could do is like cancel it, right, if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know,
They
benefit.
could be doing something more important than going to the
Right.
dump.
Like going up on the knife bill.
Yeah.
I don't even go the back way anymore, I don't even know what they do, so, doesn't concern, I like to see them when it's all.
All right, well, I think
Yes.
it's a yes, yeah,
Okay, so I'll call him.
okay. Town farm property lease, wow, what do we wanna do with that? Do we wanna let them use it? I mean, it sounds like a good deal, if they're willing to make a walking path in that area at their expense, and let them use it. I think it's a win-win situation.
say that the rest of the land that Jamie and Tom owns up there, that was going to be a solar farm.
Right.
Doesn't look like it's gonna be a solar farm. Looks like it's gonna be back on the market. Maybe you wanna wait before you give them the answer.
Okay, yeah.
Find out how it shakes out.
I thought he alluded to, you know, I was listening, but, I thought he alluded to, he was actually gonna use part of that land for like different holes. You know what I mean? He said, you know.
Right, yeah.
Alluded to, he didn't come out and say it, but, you know, he said walking past and he has some of that land would be good for incorporate into
Right.
his business, so,
He could be
and that made me think,
You could be making money off.
I don't know, I mean, did you guys, you had to fight to go to the planning board meeting, I was away out of town, but, did
So,
he,
he
any
said
kind of
he put
lease?
2 or 3 of those holes, I don't know, it's a basket
Yeah,
on the town farm land.
okay.
He was also talking about,
Have we talked figures as far as the lease agreement, the money that he would pay for that, I know, just the idea right now.
Good idea, yeah.
Although, if you really got serious about it, I don't see that there's any legal issue about leasing land to him or selling, because I've seen Town Farm sold for many years. You go on the internet and this one stories of Town Farms being sold to individuals. I don't know if we'll do anything else with it, quite honestly.
Right.
Maybe cut some trees now and then, but we just don't do that much anymore, you know, we have cut trees for people to burn wood,
Yeah.
well, the pine up there, I guess, but, I would just wait and see if he's serious about it, gets done.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
The thing that I liked about the proposal was the idea that it's gonna be open to the public. You don't
Because-
necessarily have to go in and play disc golf, you just walk it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as an agreement said that, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the walking trails coincide with the golf.
And they get hit with a frisbee.
Hit in the head.
Yeah.
While you're walking,
And who's gonna be liable, him or her?
I just don't get the disc golf thing, but
each to their own, yeah.
It's pretty tough, it's tough.
To me, it doesn't seem like the area for it, but, you know, I'm not a.
Yes, Steve.
I just think that if it's, you know, it's something that perhaps is better suited for a planning board meeting, but, you know, we have to consider if we're going into the woods, even deeper with a public walking trail, that obviously emergency services have a way to be able to service people, especially in the winter time. You have people hiking, lost or injured in the woods. We need to be able to make a rescue and, you know,
And that would
have
try to
that
go
built in.
town expense to keep it clear for you guys.
Right, or should, just at least maybe you wanna have that in the terms of your lease, you know, to work that out with them and perhaps put it on them to help develop those, emergency services infrastructure for them. In other words, we could use this side by side. They can buy
I think he would have to have the side by side for, you know, get people from, you know, being bonked on the head by a disc or whatever.
Right, yeah, yeah.
That part was just jokes.
No, but I like it.
Yeah, I think it's functional.
Got a friend that does that.
the neighbor's got a little course set up.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I've never seen it even played, so.
It's similar to golf, but they use baskets instead of holes.
I'm sure it's fun, in its own way, for sure.
All right, we'll take a look now and see what fire department. Steve, you got a lot of, Michael, Steve, you got a.
Ask and you shall receive.
Dry hydrant agreement.
Yeah, I sent you guys a template agreement that we spoke about at the last meeting, that we need to get out for the ISO, to the landowners who have dry hydrants on their property, so that we have documentation that it's a legal use of easement of that hydrant.
Yeah.
The ISO is requiring those documents, or none of our fire hydrants qualify for an ISO score without those documents. So I also gave you guys a list of all the hydrants and water sources in town.
I see, yeah,
There might be a few on there that are old.
the first one is, I assume is our fire pond, you said Brookfield Pond.
Yeah.
I think that's in the lease, included in the lease too.
I can look at it. You mean Alan's lease here? Yeah, I can take a look at that. I don't know if it
I
is.
think it gives the fire department use of that pond.
Yeah, I just would have to look at the lease again. I'm pretty sure the lease is just for the station, but either way, I'll take a look at it and we can determine that one.
I know it did, I don't know if it changed or not, so.
And Dale
If it does, it would probably cover that.
Yep. And Dale's offered to help work with, Team Woods at Woods Mill for their, lease agreement. We just need to get a bunch of them before October in order for us not to lose our ISO status.
Yeah.
So,
So the rest of them, is it, like, I'm reading them now, I mean, most of them seem like a gimme, there's something that you're gonna go and.
yeah, absolutely.
approach,
I'll reach out to as many people as I can, from the fire department. I believe it's mostly my job. Lastly, I was asking just more for your help,
Yeah.
in getting it done, so that the landowners, when they see it, just like I think Joe was saying at the last meeting, they might be like, if they get it in the mail, throw it right in the garbage, this is something that kind of can't be ignored and doesn't really have, it has a pretty, it's not tomorrow, but it's gonna be here before we know it, that it actually needs to be submitted, so. Now, just so you guys are aware, like I was talking about at the last meeting too, the Sand Pond, is a drafting source, and Marston Pond is a drafting source, meaning we don't have a hydrant there. We have to throw a line, hose essentially into the lake there and draw water out of it. And as much as that works for us as firefighters, the ISO doesn't like that. They want very strict documents of drafting sources, 50-year drought studies, things that we can't get. I've tried. So it would be wise to looking into installing dry hydrants in those places. Sand Pond would be an easy one, being that the town owns it, or at least owns the boat launch. And Marston at the campground might take a little bit of work, because I think originally when they built their business, they were supposed to put one in, but did not. So, I can try to work on that with Gary a little bit.
Did you ever throw in a figure of what a dry hydrant would cost to install?
Yeah, it's anywhere from, depending on who installs it, how long it is, so it all depends on how long, in terms of material, but it's anywhere from like $6,500 to $10,000 for labor and parts and installation.
Yeah.
Really long one's gonna be more like 10,000, there's a lot of digging, and then, a pretty short one, like a Sand Pond one would probably be pretty cheap. It's not a long run.
Even though it's pretty shallow.
Yeah, Sand Pond would be a long run, you'd be,
I think you have to go,
60 feet, you think? I was thinking more like 30.
you have to go quite a ways to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, so then, well, the digging portion of it only it can be gradual, right? It doesn't need to be very deep, it just needs to access a lot of water. So,
Right.
if it's out of the water, it can, the pipe can just be installed, it doesn't need to be trenched all the way. You see what I'm saying?
True, yeah.
The pipe can just be literally in the water.
It'll be right there by probably the bank where the boat launch is, and that's probably the only place you have to dig.
If I'm being honest with you, I haven't really looked at Sand Pond and say this is where I would, install a hydrant specifically, but just a consideration on our drafting sources are the two largest sources of water we have in this town, and they can't really qualify with the information available to us for homeowners insurance via the ISO, it affects that score, so just trying to think of like the best possible options for us to maintain our score. I'm not even looking to increase it, I'm just trying to keep our spot and not drop down,
Right.
which is where we're at.
So, now what about English Pond?
No, what about that pond?
There's a lot of milfoil in it.
yeah. It's not very deep, so you'd be running into the problem of like Sand Pond, you have to go quite a ways. The other issue would be location of the hydrant.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. So
Yeah. Water sources are trouble.
I wouldn't want to be installing that.
Even with all this rain, you know, we're not really gaining any new water sources in town. They are tending to go away, and they're over 60% underscore in the ISO. That's the problem. So I'm working on the other 40%.
Well, it's the most important these things to put the fire out.
No doubt about it. So just so you guys have an idea, and I'll follow up on that stuff.
Hey, Steve,
Yes.
I'm curious, you had, I think in your email, you talked about the fact that putting a dry hydrant in Sand Pond or
Marston probably.
Marston Pond would require some engineering studies.
No, close. If we were to keep them as drafting sources, they would need engineering studies. So if we were to keep it as a drafting source, right, meaning that we throw a hose into the top of the water to draw the water out of the pond, that would, in order for the ISO to consider that a legitimate water source to put out fire, they would need an engineering study to prove how much water comes into the pond regularly, and they want a study from the DEP, is really the people who handle it. It's called a drought study, and it's over 50 years is their requirement. So the DEP doesn't have this on Marston Pond. They actually might have it on Sand Pond, because it's been there for quite some time, but Marston Pond is mostly like man-made, or if it was, you know, partially man-made at least, so they don't have any drought studies on this body of water. So that's why that one specifically, it's like it's out. You can't use it as a drafting source.
But
Listen, in the
all
event,
these other farm ponds and whatnot require no studies or any proof that the water will be there when you go to suck it out.
no, any drafting source. If there's not,
Any of these dry hydrants,
oh yeah,
there's no proof that there's ever gonna be any water there.
exactly. And so they require us on the fire department side, just so you know, and we've done it, is they require, so for a dry hydrant, there's still a lot of requirements. It's not super easy. I'm just trying to keep the technicalities out of off your guys' plate. But they need to know how many gallons a minute each one of those hydrants are flowing. It needs to flow a certain gallonage per minute at a certain pressure. The other thing it needs to do is it needs to have a certain amount of gallonage. And you can calculate gallonage by depth and, you know, either diameter or the dimensions of the pond. All of that I've already submitted. And they say, all well and good, you know, and actually some of the flows are actually, I think, documented on that thing that you're looking at. So those are the requirements. You know, dry hydrant and drafting source is almost two completely different things. In the perfect world, which will never exist out here, the ISO loves the big red fire hydrant that everybody has a big water tower attached to, and you plug in, it's got all the pressure in the world and endless water.
Right.
Well, that's never going to happen here. So what I'm trying to do is at least just make sure our homeowners are not, their homeowners insurance rate are not affected by the fact that our infrastructure is the only thing that's lacking in terms of our water sources.
Yeah.
And in future constructions, like these Frisbee disc golf courses or any multifamilies, we need to start talking about building reservoirs when we talk about any, you know, more than a couple of structures going up, because again, we're not gaining any new water sources.
Like a cistern or something.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. With a dry hydrant, it would be a lot easier to classify with the ISO than just throw. I mean, listen, Jimmy, you understand. For us, if we need water, we'll get water. But, you know,
Right.
in terms of the way that the ISO wants to look at it, I'm trying to play their game a little bit. I hope that answers your question.
So I guess, just present to me or us, you know, the ones that you would like us to go and
Okay.
ask to get that lease agreement, you know.
Yep. I think Dean Woods would be a good start for you guys.
Okay, yeah.
I'll work on the other ones. I think I can, who's the gentleman that talked to me that needs his one blown out? Vinnie Lawrence. I can talk to him, you know, and get that done. I know what.
Who has that paperwork, Robin, you?
You guys have a copy of it now. It's
Okay.
just a template. We fill it in. It just says, like, you know, it's basically a fill in the blank of the town of Baldwin in Cumberland County, Maine, this landowner, you know, and then the lease agreement terms.
That was in the email?
Yep.
I printed it off right there too behind you, Steve, on that. Now,
Yep.
it may just be wording, but, it uses the word township.
It also uses the word farm pond. I think we can add that.
But is township correct wording? or are they referring to, because we've got towns and then we have townships also that are,
So I think, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but legally, if we always present ourselves in documents as a town, we should probably keep that consistent. Farm pond is also used in one of the first clauses in there, and I don't know if farm pond is too specific. I think we could just say pond, you know, so that we don't end up in hot water at any point. And, you know, so I was sending you this template because it was a template that the representative from the ISO said this satisfies what we need for a hydrant agreement, and kind of, you know, present it before the select board in order for them to look at it and say, this also is good with us. So I'm sure there can be some editing done to the verbiage in the document.
Now, I know that, dam on Dean's Land is always degrading. Is that gonna change the water supply to that place, or is that considered?
It will over time.
Yeah.
The last time the ISO studied us, so this was an audit. I've been digging a lot to see when the last time that we were evaluated was in 2011. Typically they evaluate you or submit you for an audit every 5 years, but I think just because we're Baldwin, they, you know, probably just have bigger fish to fry maybe. And so it came about in 2021, like at the edge when it was turning into 2022. So obviously I was not cheap at the time. They had an inspector come out. The inspector basically created a list of all of our shortcomings. Some major one was documentation of water sources. I mean, we had documentation of training. There's a big document on how much we were lacking. But I looked at, you know, since I've been in the chief's chair, I've kind of looked at what's the highest, what scores matter the most, and it's mostly water sources, firefighter training. And so I've been digging into firefighter training, and I'm just kind of extending my arm out saying, hey, this water source is 60% of the whole score. We kind of need to work together as a town in order to get this done. And there's obviously some, you know, potential personal conflicts, or maybe people won't take me seriously when I ask them for a lease agreement, or they don't want to lease their land to us. So it would be a good idea for the select board at least to, you know, be on board with getting the agreements done.
So what you're saying, we're so far out of compliance that you're just reaching and grabbing things and pulling them in to get us more closer to
Yep.
where we need to be.
Yep. Training is a big chunk of the 40%, besides the 60% of your score is water sources. I think of that 40%, training is like almost 60%. That makes sense. 60% of the 40%. So I've implemented obviously a brand new training program. We were talking about that at the last meeting, and we have documented training. We're 12 hours short of where we need to be. So I have basically 2 more trainings, and I have till October to submit it.
You missed one tonight.
I know. I know. Don't say that. Listen, it's not as easy as you think. The weather comes and ruins my ISO projects. So just some stuff to consider.
Now the next thing is the request form code screen federal surplus property.
Yeah, it's just so we can go look at federal surplus. That's for the whole, that's for the whole
no,
town.
that's what's that on the floor.
Is that the one up in Augusta?
Yep. Augusta now actually gives us the opportunity to not only do state surplus, but federal. And so, you know, essentially where we got our forestry trucks from, we're able to screen, is what they call it, meaning before it goes to auction, municipalities have the ability to look at some of these things. I'm not saying we need anything from it directly,
Right.
but if it doesn't cost us anything, you know, I mean, I can use some file cabinets. So I'm not taking a truck.
I got a lot of these cabinets came up there.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely just an affordable option, and it's to the benefit of the whole town. Anybody can put their name on that list that's a town employee and be able to go up there and screen. So I have Sarah on there, Chris from the roads, and myself from the fire department. I think Debbie's on there as well. I offered if Robin wanted to, or if any of you want to, feel free to add yourself on there.
Okay.
Just need a signature from the town chairman.
Yeah,
Or 2 signatures, yeah.
I've gone fish off 2 times.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
All right. just this one page here that needs to be signed? or-
I think there's 2 spots, they're highlighted in yellow, and it says like
Okay.
head of town or something like that, but.
All right, should be all set.
Thanks, Jimmy, I appreciate that.
Start shopping. You can get some good deals up there.
If you guys need anything on stuff, we have to get for you.
It's like mine, you gotta get it when you get it. Well, no, I think got it.
So I've heard. Thank you.
And what's Walden news, where we at on that?
So I forwarded you guys an email from Keith Stackhouse, who's their clerk and I guess representative. He just said that they had submitted it to or they're working on it.
Yeah, okay,
That's all I got.
you're still working on it.
Yeah.
Well, and that, they hope to have it finished in terms of
Oh, by the end of the
timeline
year.
by the end of the year, yeah.
Yeah.
By the end, yeah.
Hopefully by the end of the year.
And fire department ordinance. I know you sent this.
Yeah, I think we had discussed that, but
The question was, can the selectmen sign it?
no, it needs to go to town meeting.
And, no,
No town meeting?
it has to be, it requires a town meeting.
It doesn't require town, okay, yeah.
I think that's the way we'd prefer it to be anyway.
Yep,
Okay,
Yeah.
and everyone that you'll find on the internet, there's a lot out there from main municipalities, they all say the same thing.
They're pretty similar.
And they're all glued town meeting.
That's correct.
copy and paste.
Yeah. They are pretty uniform across municipalities. One last piece of information, just really quick, the WNCW project did start today.
Oh,
And they actually were talking and said that it should be done by the end of the week,
Oh.
weather dependent. So it should be a pretty quick
Yeah.
job and we're almost done.
wouldn't want to be out
That's a
there.
good update. Yes. Looks like we'll be able to do our pub before. Yeah.
Now, is that putting that out of service for?
No, we're paying for that so that Cumberland County has a backup frequency for us, and we've paid for us to be on that frequency in the time during construction.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we won't lose any emergency radio services at all.
Okay. All right. General assistance contract. So this is through Cumberland County. How much is this gonna cost us a year?
Well, it's in there, there's a set fee, I think that set fee is, their rate was what, $65 an hour, I think? And Jim Gailey mentioned in his email that Bolton was different than all the other towns. And that's because they negotiated the price down last year.
Oh,
They wanted 65, and I said, that's too much. How about 58? And they took it, and I said, gee, I should have said 50. So, but pretty much that's the same contract that we had,
yeah.
with Opportunity Lines.
Now, was Opportunity Alliance, was the agreement such that if they worked outside the 4 hours here, that it was a $65 an hour in addition to?
Yeah, it was by the hour. So, when she came in to do her work, we paid her by the hour.
Right.
And so it really made no difference if she did it here by the hour or she did it somewhere else.
But with this contract though, it says that it's mandatory 4 hours here, so that means nobody could show up. And, but we're still, so the bottom line is like 13 grand or something like that, that we are required to pay, even if somebody, if no one ever were to show up during the 4 hours.
Same thing we had with Katie.
Okay.
If she came in and sat there and nobody showed up, which most of the time is what happened.
Right.
We paid her.
So would we still use a Terry as a backup type of thing, or?
I think the backup comes in that contract there, but, we'll wait and see as, how it turns out.
So he doesn't need it signed tonight, or?
No, he hasn't even selected anybody yet.
Oh, yeah, okay,
He's just showing us what the contract is with the.
okay. All right, San Juan Beach. The speeding incident. Well, see what you have, is it a contractor down there?
BYS. I've tried to flag them down, they ignore me. I can't speak for Chad. I don't know what he's done, because I'm not there all the time. But I did try to flag them down, I tried to make them aware that there were little kids, and they did run back and forth from the beach to the parking area. I can't say they were receptive, and I can't say they stood me up, but they didn't slow down.
How many times has this happened? Quite a bit?
Couple times at least that I know of. Yeah, one afternoon I think it was 5 times.
5 times, and we went by, boom.
There were 2 different drivers, and it happened 5 times.
Are they working down there?
Yeah, they're doing a foundation or something, just up the road.
And then those with the big trucks that they're cranking by?
Yeah, only maybe 18, 20 yards.
Why can't you just call their employer?
Probably will have to.
What are you waiting for?
And he just brought it up to us, so we had no idea.
Yeah.
Let's get that number out there.
It'll wait another week to get the.
I mean, I can call Steve,
Yeah.
we just go forward, and I'll say, hey, look, they're complaining the drivers are going back and forth too fast.
Ask them to slow down.
Yeah,
you do
I
that,
don't mind, yeah.
This will be civil about it.
Yeah.
We can,
Okay.
it's like the drivers are coming by too fast.
That's all, come on.
Okay. And you also got a couple incidents here.
I do.
Looks like the same one, 2 days, smoking on the
Same
beach,
people.
vaping on the beach.
Yeah, same people, 2 days. The first one, started in the afternoon, and I confronted them and spoke to them. And they agreed that they would leave. The next one was last Thursday night. And they were completely out of line. They were swearing, accused me of being harassing. I said, what did I do to her? You come over here to tell us you couldn't smoke. Okay.
You're doing your job.
My wife had brought me supper, and I was sitting at a picnic table, eating, and I watched them. They pulled in, they sat in the parking lot for almost 20 minutes. Then they got out of the car. First thing I saw was a vape. Next thing I saw was a cigarette, and a gentleman got out, and I couldn't tell from where I was whether it was a cigar or a marijuana cigarette. So I went over, and I just simply told the lady, I said, I asked you to leave yesterday. If you're coming back and you're gonna follow the rules, have a great evening. If not, don't bother unpacking, because I'll have you removed.
Was that on the beach itself, or was it talking?
In the parking area, and that's part of the problem, I think, because people don't know, and myself included, is the parking area included as part of the beach? Because if you read the ordinances, it kind of infers the parking lot is part of the beach.
I thought it was just no smoking on the beach.
If you read through the ordinances, it makes reference to the beach, the parking area, and the boat ramp as being part of the beach. Or at least that's the way I look at it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
you clearly said though that on one particular occasion, and I think it's documented, that they were smoking weed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
They were sitting in the car, and they were smoking weed. I could smell it. That particular variety, I smelled it because they were a piece of falls.
You can distinguish between the brands.
So, I knew what it was, I went over to front, and, yeah.
okay. And did you get Cumberland County involved in it?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, you did. Because it is.
That's public use at that point.
Right.
The first one that we had combined made the statement similar to, you gotta learn to love and something else, share or whatever. In other words, he told us we were in the wrong. We didn't have the right to confront it. The next one that came down was very aggressive because he took down all the information and he said, I'm going out on the road and if I find these guys, I'm gonna bring them back.
Right, it all depends on who you get,
Yes.
who wants to do their job, and
Yes.
So, with the San Con committee, or who makes the rules, or who decides on the rules, I guess? Is
Yeah,
it the
about
select-
committee,
is it the selectmen, or
yeah, the original rules were selectmen at the time.
do we have like three strikes you're out type of rules, or, because what's happening is we're inundated here at the town office.
Yeah.
Either people come in and they say, too bad, we're staying, you know, I've come to this beach for years, even though they're not Baldwin residents, and that's not gonna change, basically. They tell us, you know, straight up that they're not gonna leave. And then you're dealing with these repeat things, and
Yeah.
with this particular person, with the smoking and so forth, she's just like a summer resident staying with a Baldwin resident. So we, you know, extended the beach pass to her, as a courtesy, basically. She's not technically a Baldwin resident, she's a summer resident.
Yeah.
So, but she's bringing in people from Saco, that's the license plate, so it's like more than one vehicle that are coming, but it's repeat stuff, so
Yeah.
it's like, you know, if you're in school, you get written up a couple of times, and then you get a detention, or you get expelled, so, I mean, can we revoke somebody's pass for the summer, and then if it persists, say, you're blacklisted entirely, you're never gonna get another pass. If they keep, I mean, how many times, these are adults, they're not children, you know, it's supposed to be a pleasant place where people can bring their kids.
Right,
You know,
that's what
there
it's
shouldn't
like,
be
yeah.
swearing and partying and, you know, I don't care if people smoke, I don't care if people drink, I don't care what they do, but in a public place, you have to be respectful of other people's, you know,
Yeah.
situations, and so it comes back to the town office, that's the bottom line, and, you know, of course, and the beach attendants, but across the hall, and then even over on this side now, quite honestly, the beach is a big time sucker, and none of it is positive. It's supposed to be a fun thing,
Right.
but it's just
You tried.
one problem, whether it be, I can't believe you're charging $10 for a pass, you know, and, oh, you mean I have to buy a second pass? Shouldn't have to buy a pass at all? I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And I don't know what the solutions are, but I think if you've got habitual, problems with a person, hold on, or something, you know?
Well, just pull up stickers. Don't let them back in. No.
Well, at least for that season,
Right.
you know? Because they're ruining it for everybody else.
Yeah.
And they're taking you away from what you need to do and us away from what we need to do, and it's just, it's craziness.
And you get these people saying I'm harassing them and everything, that they didn't wanna come get stickers.
Oh, and that was the other thing too. There was a big, thing on Facebook, apparently, yesterday, and Baldwin has a community page
Yeah,
that's privately run.
yeah.
So the administrator, shut it down, but it was over,
I saw the comment about town business, don't complain to him about it.
right, so that was a good response, and there
Yeah.
was some positive response, basically, you know, how hard is it just to buy a sticker, you know?
Yeah,
But in the meantime, the attack was, to my understanding, because I didn't see the post, but it was slanderous, and some pretty bad,
Yeah.
assumptions or comments were made, before it was taken down, and that's exactly why on our Facebook page, I have a responder, message that basically says if you want to, communicate with the town office, either do so by telephone or email, because otherwise everybody gets on the bandbox and it just
snowballs.
snowballs. And that's what happened with this, and it was really not nice.
Next thing you know, we got people with pitchforks and torches up the door and.
Well, or
Man,
they,
Better you than the planning.
well, or, you know, accusing people of doing inappropriate things with children. So, which is not called for.
The
Yeah.
attack was on Chad.
Yeah.
Was it focused, it's single Chad out. Didn't use his name,
Yeah,
but it was very obvious that it was Chad they were going after.
And it was accusing of sexual harassment,
Right.
which could be a bigger problem than you guys really wanna deal with,
right.
especially with an attic leader.
This just on, like a, whose Facebook page was it?
So my neighbor is a new neighbor, and she's just moved in with the person who owns the house there, and she decided to start a Baldwin community Facebook page.
Yeah,
Okay.
Her name's Lauren.
I don't do Facebook, I don't see any of that.
No, I don't do it too much, but it's eventful right now, so.
Yeah.
So Beth, who's the current administrator of the page, she's actually not a Baldwin resident, she's a Sebago resident, but she's currently living at my neighbor Tim Smith's house, where she is the administrator of the page, yeah. And this is where this was posted, and luckily she was very agreeable and was able to take the post down when somebody said something about it, but it was not good at all.
Well, yeah. My big question is, I mean, we know by the last incident a week or so ago that Cumberland County is really not willing to enforce our beach for us, so how do we enforce it?
Well, I was gonna suggest, if you can get a hold of Cumberland County, Robin, and have them, see if they can meet with us. Cause I think we.
Let them know it's getting out of control.
Right, and not only that, if they tell somebody that, you know, they need to leave, and they don't, I would think that would be trespass after that.
Well, I think he did have a positive interaction with one of the deputies that came.
Yeah.
But the problem is response time. They come as quickly as they can, but unfortunately, it seems to trend to be like 10 to 15 minutes after the person's finally given up.
Right, but, I mean, we should be able to, if you take a license plate, give them the license plate and say, can you go talk to this person, tell them they're not welcome at the beach anymore.
Mhm.
You know, we should be able to at least do that. I don't care about having anybody arrested at that point, you know, if they come back and start raising hell, yeah.
Well, I did encourage, Chad, especially this morning, and to focus on the license plate numbers.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, they're not Baldwin residents, but we have, or more so the other side, they have access to the state database
Right.
for the motor vehicle,
Yeah.
Bureau of Motor Vehicles, so we can find out who it is.
Yeah.
And certainly the police can too.
Yeah.
But
So
that's why I wondered if, you know, if you could have 2 or 3 strikes and you're out. And I mean, if they continue to come,
yeah, I would think so, yeah.
pull the pass, and then if they continue to come, at that point, involve, you know, the police from that respect, because they would be trespassing if they don't have a pass.
Right, yeah. I mean, from the first deputy we talked to about, you know, we need to get along. You know, if you get a deputy like that all the time, and, or you get the other one who seems to be wanting to do his job, and,
The first deputy we dealt with, Chad and I both believe he was been a line BS.
right, yeah, yeah,
That person has not been back.
good.
The second deputy was fantastic. He got there after they'd already left, and he was very supportive.
Good,
Took information, I had pictures of the license plate and the stickers involved. He looked at those. I had a very brief video of the incident.
good.
He looked at that.
Are you able to send that, say, to Robin?
I can.
We can have it on record and.
I can either put it on a thumb drive or
Yeah,
disk and bring it in.
yeah, that'd be great. I mean, if we have it on record and have it on file.
Yeah.
So if somebody had their sticker pulled, and then they turned around, they came in here and told you they needed a sticker, have you got a record of
Oh, they would have, yeah,
a
there's
red flag with that person in your computer?
yeah, and, yeah, there's a log of all the stickers and, you know, names, and we get, they're required to show their registration. I mean, so they have to prove that they're residents.
And then that would flag in your computer.
Well, it's actually a much simpler system than that. It's all, because it's just 100 stickers that are sold, so it's not, big business by any means. I mean, you can very easily, you know, there's a log that's kept with the name, address, and make, model of the car, just like with our, you know, transfer station stickers, the same idea, license plate. So you can pretty easily identify who it is if you have the plate, and that's why I thought, you know, when the word harassment was used a lot, I talked with Chad and I said, I think, you know, if we focus on when people come in, looking at plates and windshields, rather than, you know, going from person to person and asking if you have a sticker, just focus on the vehicles, and if there isn't one, if something's not matching up right, then you go and find the person and try to handle it diplomatically, but, it's just people really kind of get put out over the fact that they need a sticker in general. And, historically that's been the case, they don't feel that they need one. And then you have people that, have used the beach from out of town their entire lives, and, you know, they're sore and upset that they have to have, or that they can't get a sticker, you know, so.
I had somebody tell me that they'd always put a tent on my land there. They've done it every year. And therefore they should be allowed to do it this year.
It sounds like squatters, right?
And I've been to that place and not seen the tent ever before.
They told you they've been there before.
Oh, they've been there every year.
Well, at least you didn't have a neighbor rent it out to them.
There you go.
Like, that happened in Cornish. Like the Airbnb, but it was
I like
a
that one.
site.
I like that one a lot.
Really?
I like that one.
Rent out somebody else's, the neighbor's land for fencing. That's a first. Yeah.
But the reason I'm here, is about a cemetery plot that I don't need, and I was told to come here, but was I supposed to put my name on a list to be
I mean, we usually go around.
discussed And nobody told me to do that, they just said, come here tonight.
Right, we usually, at the end of the meeting, we'll go around, see if anybody has any comments, I mean, you can go now if you
I just
like.
didn't want you to tell everybody to go home before you got.
No,
I
you-
need my time.
You can speak right now if you want,
Okay,
it is, yeah.
well, I don't need the plot, Gary insisted on buying it,
Yeah,
and it's still sitting there with nobody in it. And I'd like to sell it, but the book said, I can't sell it, I have to come back to you guys. So
And
can I
do-
sell it back to you, and then you can do it?
right, yeah, we'll reimburse you for the plot,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I'm not looking to make a profit, I just don't need
You
it.
just
and
don't need it,
No, I don't need it.
right.
Gary's still in the box. And the boys don't wanna be buried there, so,
You got no use for it, okay.
you know, nobody cares, nobody cares. They want it all be sprinkled around, so.
Just see Deb and have, she'll,
I did see her, and she said, come see you guys.
really, well, probably for approval.
There's a deed, in the registry of deeds?
She does report them.
So we need to
Here,
go
and
through
I tried to
the,
show her this, and she said I had to come see you all.
yeah, so I think we gotta go through the process,
So what's the process, how do I get it
I don't
going?
know.
Yeah,
We'll
I
figure
don't
it
think
out.
we've ever done this.
I have a copy, do you want me to leave this with you, or do you want me to deal with the process?
Well, you can leave a copy of the deed with us, I guess. And we'll figure out what it takes to,
I don't think that's, I think that's like the invoice sale. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
the deed per se, we have to look in the registry of deeds and everything.
Oh, that's all I got, given to me,
well,
and a receipt.
you might find it in the registry of deeds.
I have no idea what to do, what you're talking about.
Well, leave it there, and we'll figure it out.
Okay.
They don't keep them, the registry of deeds?
I think they do.
Oh,
I think
Yeah, 'cause I thought they
cemetery
were
lots
recorded.
are like everything else. They get
Yeah.
registered.
And I don't have voicemail, I don't know how to set it up, so I will see somebody try to call me, and I'll call you back. If you try to leave me a message, you can.
Okay.
It may take a little bit, Julie. Okay.
That's okay, no, it's been 7 years, so, okay. Does Robin want it, or do you want it?
I would assume Robin would be the best avenue for it.
All right. Dale, you got anything? Steve, any more?
Yeah, I'd like to add one more thing.
Okay.
It's something that I talked to the fire chief with today, and at this time, because of the town of Baldwin isn't an EMS provider, there is no policy in place of it. I asked him, what happens if we find a sharp or a needle at the beach, and how do we deal with it?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, this would be a good place to bring it up. So I'm mentioning it. Rather than find something and then have everybody scrambling to say, how do we deal with this, what's the problem?
I did refer to Standish EMS, being that they would be our closest, disposal and, containment of sharps, being that we don't have an EMS service here, but
Yeah.
from anywhere from, I'm just gonna be very blunt, anywhere from heroin addicts to diabetes, there's gonna be a syringe around at some point. It might be a good idea to have at least a drop-off point or someplace that we can have a sharps container that, gets picked up. I'm sure we won't have very many, so it probably won't cost us very much. But I thought it was a good point, it's never been brought to me before, so.
Right, yeah.
We could probably order sharps containers online.
They're $30,
Um,
they're pretty cheap.
Yeah, and they're designed in such a way that you can put things in, but they're tamper resistant, so you can't get
Yep.
things out. But, I did buy, what are those called? No,
Yeah, I call them tongs, long-handled tongs.
right,
Extended
trash and gloves for them, which came, I don't know if they're still, if the fine motor skills on them are such that they could pick up a
I didn't try it today, I'm gonna try it tomorrow morning, cause there's a ton of cigarette butts, I'll let you know.
Okay.
That's good practice, right
Medical
there.
facility in Steve Falls,
They would have a sharps
they would have a sharps container.
Well, what they would have is a bigger biowaste, they had
be able to connect with them.
Right. In terms of the drop off, I don't know, they probably wouldn't provide us with a sharp container, we could buy
No,
them.
right.
But they might be willing to take ours,
Yeah.
because it wouldn't be a whole lot, you know, they'd probably take a bazillion years to fill it, so it's
Exactly.
crazy, but, well, I don't know, at this rate that we're going, but, but,
That's right.
what would be more concerning is, that, you know, if they're hidden in the sand and somebody steps on them, you know, if we could be fortunate enough to spy them and pick them up, we'd be lucky, but, yeah. But they've got gloves and a little picker-upper thing. That'll work.
Grabbers.
Grabbers, that's right.
Now, what's the big,
It's just a word.
It's just a word. But I bought a set of two, so they each have one, so they don't have to share, so.
They might get in a fight.
That's right.
We're gonna start doing Chad touch.
Start
now, them on Pittsburgh Road, when they were finding a lot of them, what was he told, that nobody would take them? He's pretty much on his own, and he's finding them up front of the store, yeah.
Yeah, you're looking out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's, I think it's a good idea to have a container that, so if you folks see wanting to pick it up, something for you to put it in.
Would you put the container here or on a post?
Well, they would have to have them, with them, you know, so they make real small ones.
Oh, yeah, all
um,
different types.
And then they make bigger ones, so the small ones, we could buy a bunch of them, you know, and, yeah, we need to,
I think the best thing is to have the crew to have with them,
right,
put it out and someone
Yeah.
steal it.
Because, well, they wouldn't wanna put it in their car, carry it around, and then forget about it. Be in
Right,
their
yeah,
car.
right, yeah.
well,
Put in Chad's
it's-
pickup bed.
excuse me,
Yeah, put in Chad's pickup bed. It'd be all right.
yeah, well, they're pretty benign, you know, like if they're small, and they flap shut so that you can't.
Oh, they're one way, for sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but
You would have to go through great lengths to, you know, you wouldn't try to, it's not something that would, if it fell over, something would fall
Oh,
out.
yeah, but I just wouldn't want Chad to wrap it up in a paper towel and think he's gonna go
Dispose of it
somewhere and
later.
dispose of it
Right.
later. It's gotta,
Yeah.
it should be put in that safety container
Exactly.
right away.
Try to put it in a safe place immediately, so
I
you
would
don't
forget.
get stuck with it, and yeah,
Mhm,
right.
yeah.
Good call. Anything else?
I'm done.
Okay.
Good night.
You know, Kathy?
Looks like the elevator shaft is gonna have to get a new drain. We're thinking now that it could be the roots from the tree outside that's affecting drainage. So having a small, sump pump in the bottom, that will kick on if there's any moisture that builds up, and a hole that goes out the concrete wall in a different place. That's kind of the guess point, nobody's really sure, but that's kind of what it's looking like. Because once you get tree roots, as we have found out, they have a way of being very persistent.
Yeah.
So, and there's a nice little maple tree, and it's just happy as a clam at the moment, so.
Get plenty of water.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what the problem is. No, this is flood rate. Yeah, this is an ongoing issue.
Okay. Y'all,
That's it.
y'all set? Y'all set, Julie?
I'm happy.
Yep.
I would suggest leaving a box at the beach, just in case someone is responsible, then they have a place to put things on instead of pack it and sell it.
That could be, yeah, instead of throwing it on the ground.
I mean, I don't know how many people wanna steal, use needle box to a tree or,
There were idiots.
I I mean, but I would at least try to leave one first. So if someone says, oh, you know, they do this, diabetes, whatever they do.
Yeah,
they
that's,
they
but,
do it.
yeah,
They do make public ones for municipalities that are metal, actually.
Oh,
They have to,
really?
you can't remove them for them to be disposed of, they would have to then have a service to come and pick them up to dispose of them, but it prevents the security issue that she's describing, so
that's a
it's
good
definitely
idea,
possible.
yeah,
Sad, but it's still.
yeah, good idea.
How are you doing there? Do you have any questions or problems?
Don't worry, they'll ask me.
Oh, yeah, we always do. Anything else? All right, Mary, you're up.
No, as always, I thank you all for doing such a great job,
Well,
and,
thank you.
making sure our town's safe.
Thank you. Steve, anything else up there?
Just one good piece of information, me and, Chris and Stevie, the officers of Baldwin Fire Department, went down to Cumberland County Central Communications today to work on our call boxes, which are basically when a 911 caller calls into dispatch, how the fire department and emergency services are dispatched. They haven't been organized and cleaned since 2008, so we've updated them to everywhere that our trucks have moved around to for better emergency response times, for not overusing resources and making sure that, you know, the calls have the appropriate response. So it was a very, very great meeting. We did also, Chief Rob Kennedy from Standish joined us to make sure we weren't stepping on any toes in our mutual aid contracts, and so, if anything, it's looking very good.
Yes.
So that's all.
And Steve was saying you're looking for folks to, along the river to,
That was one of the discussions that we had there. There's been quite a few water rescues, that have been performed this year by Standish, not just on Sebago Lake, but in the rivers as well. There's 8 overturned canoes in Wyndham,
No,
Freiburg, yesterday.
the river, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually had one today in Standish.
Yep. So,
Yeah, that river's high, so it's,
and it's a lot of overturned canoes for a fire department that we provide. I mean, I'm just being very honest. We provide fire, suppression services and motor vehicle accident extrications. We don't do swift water rescues. We don't do ice rescues. We don't do EMS. You know, we are, a little bit limited in not only our training but our resources. So we have to rely on other towns making sure that this is dispatched properly, so that those other towns are called in for those incidences is paramount in a proper emergency response. So that was really what our meeting was about, why Stevie's looking for better boat access, so that if we have a problem on the river, that goes through our parts of Baldwin, that we can at least respond to it.
yeah,
So, very, very, very good meeting.
good. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Chad?
That's enough for you guys.
Yeah, I had another episode yesterday with somebody, and, he didn't wanna leave. It was him, his wife, and daughter. His daughter was swimming. They did not have a sticker. He told me to get out of his face and everything, because he didn't have a sticker.
You told him to leave? and
Yeah.
He refused to?
He refused to. He says, I'll have a sticker by Friday. I said, yeah, if you're coming in again tomorrow or next day, if you ain't got a sticker, you're gonna have to go down the road.
You're getting tough.
He's pretty good. He's fill out a form. He's pretty good at filling out these forms, incident forms. Take license plate number. Maybe if you could take the license plate number, and if you send it up to here, and they jot it down, and the guy comes in, maybe,
I did get his plate,
like, yeah,
yeah.
maybe we could flag him to say, no, you can't have it.
Well, they'll find out.
Right. Yeah, have it on record too. Stevie, you got anything?
Still working on road repairs. Was very fortunate with the last storm.
Yeah.
Me and Chris went out Sunday afternoon, and Brown Road held.
Yay.
I was pretty happy about that. New culvert seemed to do the job. Winston Road, we caught that in time. We gotta get them pipes replaced. We just looked at culverts pricing today, the culverts we need, $15,000. It has gone right through the roof.
The summer's been expensive, hasn't it? The summer and spring with all the
Mhm.
storms and, really,
You know, that rain just missed us by a few miles. Order got hit really hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
Denmark too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had like 2 inches at the house, is what we ended up with.
Yeah.
When it comes off the mountain and I can hear it in the brook, I figured it was probably time to go look at the roof.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Oh.
so he hasn't pulled the trigger on that yet. We just got the pricing today for that, but that was 6 crossings.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you talking 15 for one culvert?
What's that? 15,000 for 6 crossings, I think it was. So that would be, it's 2 pipes per crossing.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like $700-800 a piece now. The small ones. And we're getting to the point now where, like on Winston Road, in a driveway, you know, Liz, the first house on the right.
Yeah.
That's a double culvert, so there's 2 2-footers in there, but they're metal. And if you do the calculation for 30-inch pipe, plastic will take more water than those 2 metals. So we want to upgrade that to a 30 and be done with it. And that pipe alone is like $1,500 just to put across the driveway.
Yeah.
But it's a brook, that's the issue. It's gotta be, other than that, we graded Deacon Road today, this morning, before we went to the meeting, and we were planning on going to Anderson Road tomorrow and then Saddleback. So hopefully we'll catch a break in the weather and let's get a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not very good hay season.
Oh my God.
Have you got any in?
No.
I
I
was
feel
gonna
over my head right now because it's so wet.
I was gonna cut Saturday, because it looked like Saturday night showers, but then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and now it's, so, I only got like 35 bales left, so it's great.
No, tomorrow, and the next day, got in the morning, Saturday, 2 days, I could put hay in 2 days.
Yeah. You're lucky. My problem is I wanna do 11 inches all along. So,
Do about an acre and a half, 2 acres.
yeah. Other than that, we're chugging along. JCB's down again. Again.
Yeah.
Hydraulic fitting, so, and we lost the brakes this morning on the loader. And the 09 is down in McFarland. So, yeah, it's been great.
Hard work, hard on equipment.
Yeah.
I don't know if Chris told you, but the rear end in the 09 slid over to the driver's side 4 inches. Was it 2 weeks ago? Seth blew the first tire.
Yep.
We didn't think nothing of it. He blew a tire. It happened.
Yeah.
Come back to the shop, put the tire on.
It was the same thing with the brakes too,
Yeah.
falling out of adjustment.
That was a different truck.
Oh.
3 days later, we blew the same inside bowl. So when I ripped them off, we got looking at it, and Seth actually caught it, but you could physically see the rear end, the tires are rubbing right on the shackles. Great. So, we went on the hook, the McFarland's, how we towed it down. I don't know when we'll get back, but can't use it, so it doesn't.
Right. Right.
International, so.
We talked, I think, at the meeting last time about the generator,
Yeah.
that's the donor unit.
Yeah.
What does that weigh, you know, what do those things weigh?
The generator itself,
Yeah,
oh,
How many cylinders, what brand?
that one up the north?
Oh, I don't know, just 2,500 pounds at the most?
Yeah, maybe.
2,500?
Yeah, it's not very heavy.
I'm wondering if I could get one on my utility trailer, but I think that might exceed that.
Yeah.
Do you need one down here? So we can go up and hook onto those backhoes instead of the one ton.
Yeah.
Well, we wanna pick up the generator and bring it up here, so that we can start the process of the generator project. And the first part of it is to get the donor unit in, where's it, Saco or Biddeford or someplace?
Yeah, someone is down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just haven't had a minute to get a hold of the guy to.
I say I'd go get it, but
Keys are in the one ton.
mhm.
Keys are in the one ton. We just got the other one ton back, so
Yeah.
we use it to haul gravel, but
I might be able to haul it.
what's that?
I'll talk to you about it, I might be able to haul it for you. I got a flatbed.
All right, I'll contact the people down there.
We can probably work some.
And something else. Good.
Anything else? Got anything else, Bob?
Yeah, we had a foreclosure, where we sent a letter to the foreclosed property owner, and it has never been acknowledged. And, so, I think what we need to do is at least go knock on the door, see if there's anybody home. I don't know. You know,
I actually rode by that property today and I just glanced in because I know we've been talking about it and it looked pretty abandoned. I don't know. I mean, it always looks like that anyway. But
yeah, but the thing to do might be to nail a notice on the door, town-owned property, no trespassing, see what happens. I mean,
They'll get their attention.
Maybe, if they're there.
huh?
If they're there. it
If
might be
anybody's
enough.
there, I don't know. But what we've discovered is if you just let these things go very long,
It just gets
bad
worse.
things happen. Cars move in.
Yeah.
Right, right, past experience.
So something like that, that's on, obviously the town, I mean, it could turn into a precarious situation for any of us that, you know, we get dogs or, you know, pulls a gun or whatever, I mean, I don't, just go up there and staple a thing on it, hopefully nobody.
Go knock on the door, see if there's anybody there, see if there's nothing for it.
Don's got a new gun.
Well, why don't you do it? You could do it.
Oh, I'll do it, but yeah, I just, yeah.
So nearly a business guy.
Yeah, really. You're
Yeah, looks like you need a new
You're
boot.
a pretty safe party.
Yeah, I mean, whatever needs to be done.
Yeah, so, I'll give you one of you a call if you'll accompany me, knock on the door.
Yeah.
Sometime.
That seems, yeah, that's what I'm saying, I mean, there should be some kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kip and I have gone on a couple of them, White and I went on a couple.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to replay the Sequoia Trail incident that just happened. Is that where you're going with this?
Well, you just never know when you pull into somebody's yard like that, what's gonna happen. I mean,
Right,
It's a Bobby Trail, absolutely.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, just let me know what works for you in the afternoon, really,
Okay.
after 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I don't think so, that's a little guy in it. He's too
I'm
big,
just,
he's too
I'm
tall.
not teddy bear, don't worry about it.
All right, I guess that's it for this one, and, executive session. I move the select board go into executive session pursuant to 1 10 RSA, section 406